We're almost done. Hi guys, welcome back to part 3 of my April book hauls. So I've already uploaded part 1 and part 2. So the reason why I broke it down into many parts is because this month I've actually hauled a total of 47 books, and that's a lot of books to show you, and I didn't want to bore you guys with a very long video. And plus I like to always discuss some plots of the books that I'm purchasing and the reasons why I purchased these books. So I thought that breaking it down would be a lot easier for you guys to watch and a lot easier for me. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands, but anyways, let's get started with my last part of my book outlet haul. So the first book that I purchased from this haul is Kiss Collector by Wendy Higgins, and now this book tells the story of a girl who has completely given up on boys and completely given up on relationships, but then she has a bet with her friends or something like that, and there's a challenge of like who can kiss the most guys. So she's like, well, what the heck, I'm not gonna like subjugate myself to a relationship anymore, so she's gonna play this bet and that she's gonna try to kiss as many boys as possible. I thought that the cover was just super cute, and that's why I just bought it anyways, even though I might have a sneaking suspicion that I'm gonna hate this plot of this novel, but we don't care because I am a sucker for book covers. My leg fell asleep, but we're gonna continue anyways because we gotta talk about books. But basically the next book that I purchased is Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway, and this book is actually a book that I've read when it first came out, but I just never had a physical copy of it because I had an ebook. And this book tells the story of two childhood best friends, until the day Oliver was kidnapped by his father and he disappeared, and now Emmy lives a very protected life because her parents doesn't want her to disappear, just like her friend Oliver. And 10 years later Oliver comes back, and this book tells the relationship of how their friendship has changed and how it could have morphed into something new. And I really like this book. I thought it was very emotional, and I thought it was kind of like creepy and dark too, because I never read a book about kidnapping before, and I thought it was really interesting and I really liked it. So now I'm glad that I have a physical copy, because if I were to reread it, I'll have it right next to me. So the next book that I have to show you is Will You, Won't You, Want Me by Nora Zelavensky, and now this is actually a women's fiction / romance novel about a girl who is basically the most popular girl in her high school until like 10 years later she kind of lost her sparkle. She's living a life that she never intended to live. She's at a dead-end job, and she has a boss that she bickers with every single day. So the next book that I have to show you is Things Jolie Needs to Do Before She Bites It by Kerry Winfrey, and now this book is by an author called Kerry Winfrey, and it took me a minute, but I also realized that Kerry Winfrey is the author of 2 romance novels that I've read recently, which is Waiting for Tom Hanks and also Not Like the Movies, which is coming out in summer 2020. And as soon as I realized this, I was like, I have to buy this book. So this book tells the story about Jolie, and Jolie kind of has like this condition where basically she has like a severe underbite, so much that like it's troubling her and causing her a lot of pain and distress. Like she can't really eat properly, and she has massive headaches from her teeth grinding against each other. So she finally has surgery to correct it. But before she heads into surgery, she and her friends are going to cross off a lot of things on her bucket list because she's scared that she's gonna die in the surgery. So she does like a lot of crazy things, and I feel like that this one is just going to be such a light-hearted YA novel about someone who's just recklessly doing things, sort of like me buying all these books. So the next book that I have to show you is One Paris Summer by Denise Grover Swank. Now that I've read the author's name, I kind of realized that she is also a adult romance author too as well, which is super cool. So this book tells the story of Sophie Peterson, and Sophie Peterson is basically really fed up with her father because her father is actually breaking up with her mother and flying off to Paris and starting an architectural firm, and invited her and her brother to Paris to spend like summer there. And it's not only until they arrive do they realize that they were invited because he is actually getting remarried to another woman who has a family of his own. And it basically just sounds like all this chaotic mess that nobody wants, and I feel like it's going to be a very fun journey. So I don't know why, maybe because it's the fact that I was supposed to go to Paris this fall and I can't, obviously because of travel restrictions and obviously the world happening right now, that I really want to read a lot of Paris books. So that's why I decided to add this one to my cart. So the next book that I purchased is Tradition by Brendan Keeley, and now this book is a book that I've had my eye out on for a very long time since its release, because I just really like this cover. Like, it's a girl in a prep school uniform and then there's like a man standing behind behind her. And this book tells the story of a boy and a girl who go to a very elite prep school and like private school where they are working really hard to get into like the Ivy League schools that they want to get into because they are very focused on their futures. So what happens when the traditions inside the school are sexist and could be dangerous to a lot of people in the school? Do they stand up for them, or do they sit down and shut up? Because if they do stand up for them, they could be risking their chances into getting into their universities. And I feel like that this one is going to be a very emotional one, and I'm excited to read it. And I love the cover of this book. Oh, there's just writing inside. So the next book that I have to show you guys is Infinite in Between by Carolyn Mackler. And now this book tells the story of 5 teenagers, and it's their first day of school. So then they are best friends and they decide to write letters to their future selves, and they hide it. And then they will like basically go back to the letters after graduation. And then this is, I guess, the story of them in the next 4 years of high school and how their relationships have changed. It seems like it's going to be a very emotional journey. And if I am correct, I think it tells into multiple perspectives, so we can see the characters and see their stories and their decision-making process. So I think it's going to be fun. I never read a Carolyn Mackler book in a long time. I think she wrote one of my favorite books, but I forgot the title of the book already, but I'm excited. So the next book that I have to show you guys is The Love That Split the World by Emily Henry. And Emily Henry wrote a book called Beach Read that is coming out this month, and I absolutely loved Beach Read. I loved it so much, and I loved Emily Henry's writing, and I saw this book a lot and I didn't know if it was actually really good because like I saw it hyped up a lot, but I never really saw people talk about it. But then I went on Goodreads and I saw the reviews, and they were all like 4-star ratings, which I found very impressive. And since I was already a fan of Emily Henry's from Beach Read, I decided to pick up this book. So this book I think has a lot of magic realism in it, and it's like basically she sees visions and she has a duty to save a guy, and she only has 3 months to save the guy. And I'm excited to read it to see what it's about because the synopsis doesn't really tell me much. So the next book that I have to show you guys is Unleaving by Melissa Ostrom. And now this book was a book that I debated whether or not I want to add to cart or remove from cart, and then I kept adding and removing because this book actually touches on the topic of like the Me Too movement, where basically she is a freshman in college and she wakes up and she realizes that she has been drugged and she has been sexually assaulted by multiple males. And this is the story of her bringing it up to light and like letting people know that she is a victim and letting people know that they need to be punished. And this is also her trying to figure out like who else has been hurt by the same crew. And I know that this one is going to be a very difficult book to read because it touches upon a lot of sensitive but very important topics. But the ratings for this was really good, so I'm kind of interested into seeing how this one plays out. And we switched lightings again because I was filming during sunset and now I have to put on the light. And now we're gonna move on to our next book in our book haul. So the next book that I purchased is Dead Girls Society by Michelle Kreese. And now this book is about a girl who has cystic fibrosis, and basically everybody's treating her like she is very fragile and she can get hurt at any moment and any time, and basically she's sick and tired of everybody treating her like that. So when a mysterious letter is sent to her house basically telling her that if you complete a couple of dares, they can send her a lot of money. And now she's motivated because treating her cystic fibrosis is actually a huge financial burden on the family, and it's becoming a problem for them to like always send her to treatments. So now she is motivated, and I think that this book is actually creepy in a way because there is a lot of things that she has to do that might not be morally correct. And the next book that I want to show you guys is The Other Side of Lost by Jessie Kirby. And now Jessie Kirby is also an author that I collect a lot of her YA books of. I actually read a couple of them and I'm a fan for writing, so I'm excited to collect another book in my collection. And now this book tells the story of a girl who is very internet famous. She has a lot of followers on her Instagram, and she only has this many followers on her Instagram is because that every single photo that she does post, she constructs it in a way that makes her seem like her life is perfect and it's basically what everybody wants their life to be. But the reality is that she has no friends and that she doesn't live a perfect life. And what happens is that she grows sick and tired of the image that she's portraying herself on the internet. So she decides to expose herself by making a video and confessing everything. She is doing in order to make herself look better. And then somebody sends her a packet of like equipment, like hiking equipment, and it's from her late cousin Bree, who is someone that just passed away recently, and that's where she discovers herself, is through the mountains and climbing. I don't know, it sounds like a fun novel to read. Now the next book that I purchased is In Paris with You by Clémentine Bouvet, and now this is another Paris inspired YA contemporary romance. And like I said before, I was supposed to go to Paris, but it didn't work out because of everything happening in the world, so I'll settle for my books instead. And now this book tells the story of a second chance romance in YA, and I've never read a second chance romance in YA before, so I'm excited to see how this one plays out. So this is a book about two characters who've met before and that they could have had something more if they had a little bit longer time to spend in Paris, and then what happens is that they meet each other again in Paris again. And now this is them like trying to see if like life has changed so much to the point that they can't be together. And I don't know, it seems like it's going to be a fun summer read, and this book is very thin, so obviously I can get through it very quickly. Now the next book that I purchased is My Unscripted Life by Lauren Morel, and now this book is a book about a girl who's recently been rejected to all her pre-college arts programs, and she's kind of licking her wounds in a small town in Georgia. But then what happens is that a movie set kind of rolls in and that they're going to start shooting this movie, and she actually gets a job as a production assistant, and she meets the main cast, which just so happens to be like a teen heartthrob actor, and she is not interested in him at all because he turns out to be a major jerk. And so this book is a enemies to lovers romance, because the more she spends time with him, the more she realizes that maybe he's not that bad of a guy after all. And the next book that I purchased is Spare and Found Parts by Sarah Maria Griffin, and now this book is like a YA sci-fi slash like dystopian novel, and this book is basically taking place in a strange time that is like kind of happening right now, because a mysterious disease has taken over and has harmed so many people that the only way to like keep them alive is by using like mechanical parts to make them alive. So basically her heart is actually a clock, and she is like the daughter of the person who came up with this theory to help save humans by like putting machinery parts into them. So she's thinking to herself, if her father can save human lives by putting these machine parts, can she actually build a whole human that understands her with different parts? So I think that this novel will be a very fun novel to read during this time especially, or it could be my worst nightmare. We will never know until I actually read this book. So the next book that I have to show you guys is Surviving Adam Mead by Shannon Clare, and now this book tells the story of an enemies to lovers romance once again. So we have a coach's daughter romance, and the coach is her father, and her father is coaching the resident football player that has like the chance of bringing the team into like national championships or whatever football people call it. And now this is the story of her trying to avoid him because she hates him, and he kind of hates her too, because like, who is this chick that is not impressed by his skills and not impressed by his good looks? And my friend actually read this book and she said it was like an alright book, but I don't know, I just think it looks cute, and it's like thin, so like how bad can it be? But it could also be really bad, but we don't know. I like it anyways. So the last book that I have to show you in this massive 3-part book haul is a YA thriller novel that I've already read, that I actually have an ARC copy of. I swear to you, it added on to my nightmares that I had when I was watching a lot of Korean thriller, like psychological movies. Plus I was reading a lot of adult thriller novels, and then what happened was that I had nightmares for a whole entire week. And I love this book so much because it just left me reeling, like I didn't know what was happening. And so this book is the story of a girl who used to be a Toddlers and Tiaras pageant girl. Like when she was young, she was like doing a lot of pageants, and she lost a huge chunk of her childhood, and she blames her parents for it. So she sues them in court and wants to get emancipated from her parents. And then on the day of her trial, her parents never show up, and it's only her younger brother, and they don't know where the parents went, and she thinks that this is like kind of like an action that the parents are doing so that they can get away with it, so the court can't emancipate them. And she's frustrated and she's fed up, and then she realizes that her parents actually disappeared and that they don't know where the parents are. So they go on this weird creepy road trip in the middle of the night where they are searching for the parents, and lots of weird things happen, such as the fact that the road that they're driving is repeating itself, and everything that they pass, they see it again and again and again, and it seems like they're driving in a circle, but they're driving down a straight road. And lots of just psychological things keep happening, and it just freaked me out, and I loved it so much, and I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. This book is What We Buried by Kate A. Borman. But anyways, that is it for all the books that I've hauled in April. Finally, we have made it this far in the book hauls. I can't believe I did part 3 of the book haul, but it had to be done. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the ride, and hopefully you guys added a lot of books to your TBR and got introduced to a new wide range of titles. And I'm always looking forward to diving into different genres. But anyways, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys again. Bye.